Welcome back to the Red Dice Diaries, and in this video I'm going to be talking about that one unique thing that makes your player character stand out from all of the other player characters. Now, a lot of times I've spoken to people who either struggle to come up with interesting character ideas or something that they're actually looking forward to playing. And one of the ways to help jumpstart this process that I found is by coming up with one unique thing for your character. And this is a concept that I came across in the 13th Age book that I reviewed some time ago. You can see the original review by clicking there. And it's one of my favourite parts of the book. Now, in essence, 13th Age says that you should come up with a hook or one unique thing about your player character, and it describes this unique thing as an unusual trait that sets your character apart from every other hero. And this is a great idea. I mean, think about it. Heroes in movies or in fiction normally have some ability or something they can do that no one, or at least few other people in the setting, can do. Take, for instance, the deductive reasoning power of Sherlock Holmes, or D'Artagnan and the Three Musketeers. Each have their own individual talents. Just to give you a few examples. The intention of the one unique thing isn't to give your character an extra item or ability, but to add something to the campaign world as a whole, and in particular highlight an important aspect of your character's personal history. So you might be asking yourself, why is this one thing important? Well, as I said earlier, the most notable heroes and villains normally have something in their background that marks them out from the normal everyday crowd of humanity, making them a little larger than life and certainly more memorable. Of course, some of them do have powers and other abilities, as will most RPG characters, depending on the system that you use. However, it's normally the events in the background that make them truly individual. Take Darth Vader from the original Star Wars trilogy, for instance. No doubt he had impressive dark side abilities, and he had that whole being able to strangle people with the power of the Force thing going for him. However, the thing that made him a great villain and ultimately allowed him to be redeemed was his familial connection to Luke Skywalker and the prophecy that said he would bring balance to the Force. Unfortunately, in my opinion, this didn't really show through in the prequel trilogy and actually seemed to sap a bit of the power and the strength away from that character. But anyway, in your RPG you don't have that problem. Working with the GM, you can define a unique event that occurred in your character's background before the beginning of the campaign, and no one's going to come along with later and reimagine your background with better special effects but poorer storytelling ability. Your one unique thing should be decided in concert and with the permission of your GM. It's not something to give you a systemic bonus, give you any pluses to your dice rolls, or to get one over on the GM or the other players, or to give you more power in the game than anyone else. The main bonus is that it gives the GM an exciting hook to hang personal plot on in the future. It also lets the GM know what you want to see in the game. For instance, if you take I am the chosen one of the god of murder, destined to become his earthly vessel. I fled my fate and am now pursued by the god's cults as your one unique thing. The GM can see that you are interested in a game involving evil cults and the god of murder, as well as the price and consequence of trying to avoid fate and destiny. This is your opportunity to give your GM an extra helping hand, to tell them where you see your character's story going in the future. Now, obviously I can only really 100% speak for myself, but certainly most GMs I know, if they're given a signal like this, they'll make use of it because it's taking some of the creation work off their shoulders, and also because they want you to enjoy the story that you're all going to create as part of the game. Having one unique thing about your character can also help your role-playing. If you know that your rogue's life has been spent on the run from an evil cult, always having to look over their shoulders and not trusting anyone since they could be an undercover agent of the cult, it becomes easy to imagine how you might play this furtive, slightly jumpy character. Just give you one example of how you might play them, and it's infinitely more interesting than playing a generic character who is just like every other level 1 thief in the game. And this is without adding any additional game rules, powers, feats, bonuses, whatever. So here's a few pointers for coming up with one unique thing in your game. First of all, talk to your GM about it. Decide things with your GM. Let them know that you're doing this to add some extra interest to the plot and not because you're looking for any sort of bonuses to your dice rolls or whatever. And most GMs will be willing to run with it. 2, it shouldn't give you any system bonuses on its own. The goal of the one unique thing isn't to give you a dice bonus or anything, but simply make your character more individual and add an additional stitch into the tapestry of the campaign world background. 3, perhaps your unique thing affects your behaviour. Although the one unique thing shouldn't affect the rules, it may affect how your character behaves. For instance, if your character was cursed to never drink water because your family offended an ancient water spirit in the past, that's easy to roleplay. It doesn't require any specific rules, but just by coming up with that one sentence, you've added to the game world and given the GM some potential future plot, as well as giving you an interesting thing to roleplay. Reason 4, you can suggest power and perhaps how your ability might evolve. Although it shouldn't give you any system bonuses, as I keep repeating, you can use it to provide justification for future abilities that you take as part of your preferred game system, perhaps as the unique thing advances or it evolves. So to use our earlier example of this rogue who's being chased by this murderous cult, perhaps if you're playing in a D&D style game and you know that at a certain point your rogue would gain the ability to teleport from shadow to shadow, you could perhaps discuss this with your GM and suggest that maybe your character evolves and they become more powerful, probably to be a suitable host for the god of murder. Then they can use this ability to teleport between dead bodies within their line of sight. Now this only marginally reskins the ability, saying you can teleport between dead bodies rather than between shadows, and in fact it probably even makes it less effective in certain situations, but it makes a lot more sense for the character, and it's a hell of a lot more interesting than having the same old ability than every other rogue of a certain level in the campaign world. So there you go. Player tip, come up with one unique thing for your character. It can help your role playing a tremendous amount, giving you something to hook your ideas on and some guidelines of how to portray your character. It makes you stand out from the crowd. It gives you a chance to help write or at least embellish on some of the campaign world, and also lets the GM know what you want from the game. If you want to read any more about this idea, you can find the original inspiration for this video on page 31 of the 13th Age rulebook, and I'll put a link to that and where you can obtain it from Drive-Thru-RPG in the description below. I hope if you've enjoyed this video, you'll consider clicking on like and subscribe by clicking on the red dice up in that corner. As always, if you have any comments, please put them in the links down below or hit me up in the Google Plus links. And until I see you next time, take care and happy gaming.